There are others, and these guys are very knowledgeable as well. And I'm wondering if I could get screen control, if that would be something, Brett, that you could
Go ahead.
pass.
Do you see share your screen as an option on the bottom, or no?
Got it.
Go ahead and hit that, and it should ask me your permission, and I will grant it. Yep.
All righty. Can you all see my screen that says Giving Tuesday?
Yes, we're good.
Yes.
Fantastic. You're probably all muted. I can't hear. But I just wanted to make a quick pitch. This Tuesday, or the Tuesday, May 5th, is Giving Tuesday. It's a little bit different type of Giving Tuesday. It's something that they just came up with. It's one where nonprofits will work in concert with a selected business. And if you go to the link on the website there, jot it down, now.givingtuesday.org, you can learn more. But I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention. Kind of an exciting way to potentially raise money. Also, and this may not pertain to you, but I just wanted, it bears mentioning that Google has just announced that if you are a current Google, you're paying for Google ads, you've got Google ads and you're already a Google customer, that they are adding $340 million worth of Google ad credits that you can partake in, which is a huge benefit if you are already a Google ad customer. So today we're going to talk about Google ad grants. And the Google ad grants is, when I learned about it, I couldn't even believe it. You know, we know that Google is, you know, a pretty profound organization as far as what they're able to do, right? There's almost 2.5 trillion Google searches a year. So you can only imagine the massive amount of data that they're collecting over this, you know, over a course of a year, or over the course of minutes for that matter. Right now in the Google Ad Grant Program, there's about 20,000 nonprofits spread over 50 countries. This is an interesting statistic, and that is that even though the Google Ad Grant Program offers $10,000 a month of free advertising for those that are eligible, that are approved, that the average ranges between $400 and $500 a month. And so you think to yourself, wow, they're just not leveraging all the money that's available to them. And in fact, that may not be such a bad thing. And I'll explain what I mean by that in just a few minutes. But there is $10,000 a month available, and that is extremely exciting. One thing I should mention is I'm going to talk a little bit about the board that I'm on, the North County Cancer Fitness, and that's going to be an example of a nonprofit that's very local and very niche. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about ways that you're going to be able to leverage potentially your nonprofit, much like I've had to leverage mine, or the challenges that I ran into. But I will say, before I go into the next statement here, there's a nonprofit that I'm involved with and a cause organization that I'm involved in. And because of the coronavirus, the online classes, which were prior, just, you know, they had to be in an athletic organization for the North County Cancer Fitness. We are now broadcasting the classes through Zoom nationwide. So what was, you know, 5 to 7 attendees, our members would be attending the classes, is now 35, 40, and in one case, 47 people attended a class. So whereas it seems like most of us have had to kind of contract, in some cases, we're able to expand, which is sort of, you know, a silver lining in this whole coronavirus situation. But with the Google Ad Grant Program, it's my feeling and my belief that the #1 goal is not necessarily spending all your money, but rather developing conversions and coming to understand the insights about your customers, your avatars, and how to best use the information that you can gain in the Google Ad Grant Program in your other marketing efforts. So whether it's print marketing or your website, the copy, all that information can be refined by using the insights gained in the Google Ad Grant Program. So even though you can get up to $10,000 to spend, it's really not about how much you spend. It's about how much you convert. And so conversions happen when someone clicks on your ad and it takes them down a funnel, and they say if they're going to donate money, you want them to donate money, and they go to a donate page and they decide to donate money, and by donating money they end up at a thank you page. So that thank you page can be a trigger that goes back to the original ad that you created as a signal that there was a conversion. That's one type of conversion. If they click on an event button, that could be another conversion. If they stayed on your website for a certain amount of time, or they visited a certain number of pages, those can all be deemed as conversions. And conversions are really the name of the game in the Google Ad Grant process. Again, it's not so much how much you spend, it's how much you convert. And so that's really the focus you want to put on this. The one thing I want to mention, just to get some context around the advertising world online, Google Ads are an active search format, whereas social media, Facebook and so forth, TV ads, that's all passive interruption type of ads. So Google, meaning that it's active search, as we all know, you put in a search phrase, you're looking for shoes for a male, running shoes, say, and you're going to get a list of results. We're all familiar with that. Those results are based on you proactively putting in information. Whereas on the social media side and on TV ads, as we're all well aware, it's all passive interruption. And the reason I make this distinction is because it's really what is wonderful about the Google Ad and Google Ad Grant program is because of the way they are responding to the proactive search process. It's my view that the information that they glean is not just behavioral, it's very, very specific, and you can get very scientific about it. That adds tremendous value to the Google Ad Grant process and you're developing your ads, especially on the insights that you're going to gain. Now, there is a distinction between the Google Ad Grant program and traditional the Google AdWords system, where you spend money on ads. And they work a little bit differently. And what I've learned is that nonprofits of different sizes, particularly the larger ones, will use the two programs in concert with each other. And the reason they do that is they'll use the Google Ad Grant program for gaining awareness, market awareness and branding. They'll use that to just push out their name and information out to the marketplace. They'll also use the Google Ad Grant program to help them to develop the specific copy and keywords for headlines and for body copy on their website and other marketing. It's a terrific place to be able to refine that marketing strategy. Because really the key thing is in raising awareness, donors who see themselves as investors really want to see nonprofits operate themselves much like a business would operate themselves. And being that they see themselves as investors, when they donate money, they really think of it as an investment that they're making in that organization. Volunteers see themselves as, they're partners in your organization. Supporters are real advocates for what your mission is. And so being able to leverage the money that you receive from the Google Ad Grant program will help to position you differently in the minds of your investors, partners, and advocates. Now, on the other hand, the paid ads, the paid Google ads, and not necessarily wanting you to set up paid ads, but when you're in a very competitive environment for raising money, the Google paid ads are best for display and video ads and remarketing, retargeting, because you're going to get a higher click-through rate. And so therefore, if you are in a highly competitive environment, you want to use the paid Google ads. They're best for donations. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't use your Google Ad Grant program for donations, but the Google Ad Grant program only allows for text ads primarily. You cannot do display and video ads, and you cannot do remarketing. It's a distinction between the Google Ad Grant program and the paid ad program. So that's what I've learned is you can do everything you need to do through the Google Ad Grant program, But if you're in a highly niche area, you might need to do some encouragement with your Google Ad Grant program with some paid advertising just to get that extra boost that you may need. So let me tell you a little bit about the North County Cancer Fitness. This is the way, this was a year ago, January 20th. That's actually through February. Oh, this is this year. So January 20th of this year, we started the Google Ad Grant program for the North County Cancer Fitness. It was right around the first part of February. And prior to that, I had been monkeying around trying to get this Google Ad Grant program. I'd signed up, got approved. It took a whole lot of time last fall. Finally got it set up. And I was trying to get these ads to work, trying to get the whole system set up. And I was kind of a rookie at it at the time. And I finally gave in. I threw in the towel and I hired somebody that knew her stuff. And boom, look at what she was able to do. Within 30 days, we were spending $2,760 a week, $11,040 a month. Now, and this bottom graph is the actual Google Analytics. So you can see what a trajectory that was in terms of the traffic that we were able to generate. This right here is just yesterday. So we are now spending $3,300 a week, $13,200 a month. And you're asking yourself, I'm sure, how does the math add up? If you're limited to $10,000 a month, how in the earth are you spending $13,000 a month? And that's actually a really good question. And what I've learned from the people that really know the Google Ad Grant program is that it's not necessarily a super hard and fast rule. If they see that your ads are getting good conversions and you've got a solid marketing plan and you've got good ad scores, and we'll talk about that in a minute, that you can go over the limit, which is actually very cool. The part of the reason, one thing you may have also heard, and this is something that is true but was changed back in early 2018, is that Google Ad Grant was originally maxed out. You could only bid at $2 a bid, and that limited the program significantly. But what they did is they said, okay, if you use a conversion system for your advertising, they will allow you to set your bidding at the maximum conversion, whatever that is, and that's how we're able to get our average cost per click at $11.86. So some of the things that I love about the Google Ad Grant program, which is really, really beneficial if you're looking at trying to understand how to market yourself better. You know, John Victorino says, you know, the data does not lie. And that is such a true statement. Because the data that you get back from doing the ads in the Google Ad Grant program they are just so generous with the data that they provide back to you. So for example, on the dashboard, what you're looking at are new words that Google said appears in the Google searches that showed our ads. Now, why that's important is because I can look through this and I can say, holy cow, you know, we're thinking about starting a Qigong class, and or we're thinking of, you know, talking more about the metastatic issues with breast cancer or whatever. Now we have a reason to do it because our Google ads are showing up by stating that, you know, other people are searching for these other words. It kind of gives you some insights. It also is fun to see when you make changes. Google makes a lot of recommendations to make your ads more effective. You can see how your ads perform differently over a period of time. So over the last 7 days, our Tai Chi classes have, you know, significantly improved, which is exciting to see. Whereas our breast cancer ads have gone down a little bit. We can also see which campaigns are performing the best and what our click-through rate is. You remember at the beginning, I said you have to have a minimum of a 5%. I actually haven't mentioned that yet. You have to have at least a 5% click-through rate on all of your ad campaigns. You can see that for us on our Exercising Cancer campaign, we're getting almost 11% click-through rate. So we're very happy about the results we're getting. Another piece of information that's really interesting to me in terms of knowing who your client is to see what device they clicked on your ad from. Now, in our case, most of them are clicking from computers, but a good portion are clicking from mobile phones. So why that's important is it requires that we went to our mobile devices to see exactly what people see when they go to our website. And sure enough, we discovered that our mobile device experience was not up to par. So I build websites, and one of the things that I had to do was to do a complete redesign of our mobile interface for the mobile users. And that greatly increased the results that we received from our mobile devices. Another piece of information that I think is really cool is the demographics. Google will tell you who is clicking on your ads, what their gender and what their age is. And in our case, because North County Cancer Fitness is primarily older folks, we just happen to be targeting, we just happen to have a lot of women that are 65 and older that are visiting our ads. And we kind of know that to be true. So why would that be really important? So from my perspective, if I'm working with a web designer and that web designer is, say, a 25-year-old male working on my website, and my website is targeting women who are 65 and older, I need to really come to understand that that 25-year-old male, who may be a brilliant web designer, very creative, may not be able to speak in the same language that resonates with a 65-year-old woman or older. And so it's important to make sure that the connection is made in terms of the copy, the headlines, the imagery, and so forth. It's a very important piece of information that helps you to really understand how your target market is responding. And here's one more that I'll say. This is the number of clicks by day and hour. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday over on the left, the time of the day at the bottom. And why this is important is you see the two dark squares right in the middle. Now that tells me that that's pretty much when most of our users are probably online. And why that would be important is in a whole different area of marketing. Some of you do mass email marketing. I do a lot of mass email marketing. And one of the things that is always a trick when you send out a mass email is to know when your audience is active at their computer, because what you really want when you send out a mass email is for your email to land at the top of their email program, right? You want their email to be top of consciousness. You want it to be right there at the top. If you send out your email and it's at the bottom and they start in the morning, they may not ever see it. So this gives you some insight as to when your market is, or your avatars, when your target market is actually online. So one other little sidebar that I think is the coolest app, and it may be just voyeur on steroids, but to me it's a really cool thing as you're developing your ad campaigns with the Google Ad Grant program, is a program called Hotjar, Hotjar, jot it down. Hotjar is very cool. You can get a free Hotjar for 30 days, and that may be all you need. But what it is it's a heat map that tells you where people are clicking when they go to your website or your mobile device. And you can actually start to really understand the behavior and the path that people take when they go to your website. To me, it's invaluable because I've learned things about this with this Hotjar product that I never would have even imagined. Like, for example, on this homepage, I developed this video with Chris Ryan Video Productions. It's a great video. And I was sad to learn that not that many people watch it. Whereas instead, as you can see in the top left-hand corner, they click on a button that's called Rethinking Recovery. And that's really what's important to them. Great information, helps you to reformat and redesign your website when you get to that time. So North County Cancer Fitness, a small local niche charity, not unlike a lot of our small local niche charities. Does the Google Ad Grant program work well for you? And I would say yes, 100% yes, for the reasons that I said. If you're building out conversions and you're wanting to expand the awareness, definitely use the Google Ad Grant program. One thing I need to say is after we got the huge results that we got about a month ago or month and a half ago, I realized that we were marketing to a much bigger area than just San Diego. We were actually targeting all of California and in some cases beyond California. So I reeled it back in. I said, I just want to target North County, San Diego, and see what kind of ad spend we get with the Google Ad Grant program. And sure enough, it went from, what was it, $11,000 a month down to about $300 a month. And at first I was devastated. I'm like, oh, that's just not what I was wanting. Until I looked under the hood and I looked more specifically at the small number of clicks, but the most important information and the data that I was able to glean that Google provides for you was invaluable. And so even though you may not get the ad spend that you would hope for, it was very useful as far as the information that I was able to glean. Then coronavirus kicked in, and we now can advertise throughout the entire United States. And that's the reason that our ad spend went back up to $13,000 plus. So a big question is, are you, if you're not already a part of the Google Ad Grant program, are you eligible for it? And that's really an important question, because the Google Ad Grant program is not eligible for government entities, hospitals, large medical groups, schools, and universities. Now, there's a big however in that. And because I should say that the North County Cancer Fitness is technically a health-related charity, cancer research and many other charities are eligible. And I would not let that list deter you if you're a small school and if you're involved with the medical world in some way. Don't let that deter you from signing up and trying to get yourself approved. There are some basic things, some basic steps that you're going to go through. For starters, you have to be a 501c3, a United States 501c3 organization. You need to have a Google nonprofits account. That's free. You just set that up. The next step is you have to sign up with TechSoup. TechSoup is Google's go-to for getting the validation and the validation token that you'll need. They do the evaluation as far as who you are and whether you should be eligible. Then once you're given the validation token, then you enroll in the Google Ad Grant program, and then you set up a Google Ad Grant account. So those are the steps that it takes to get yourself going. And then once you're going, then you either start in by creating the keyword search or keyword planner, and you create your ads and off you go, or you hire someone that really can help you get off to a good start. One thing that I learned, I worked with a charity here in San Diego and tried to get the Google Ad Grant program set up for them. And the response that Google, they rejected them. And the response was, well, your nonprofit charter and your website are very different, and they need to be the same. They need to be aligned. Your mission statement, your keywords, your ads, the copy, the headlines, everything needs to line up with your application for your Google Ad Grant program. So Google is very strict about how all that needs to align. So I've had the experience with a nonprofit that I thought was incredibly justified in getting to be a part of the Google Ad Grant program, and they got turned down. What they had to do was to rewrite their charter and to refile all that paperwork, and they're in the process of doing that right now. Another issue that comes up is you may already have a Google Ad Grant program that's already set up, and you may have had that been going for a while, but you may be suspended and may not even know it. So I highly recommend, if you've got a Google Ad Grant program, go in and see if in fact you might be suspended. I actually had the experience not too long ago of working with the executive director of a nonprofit organization here in Southern California, and she asked me to just check out and see how their program is working. And sure enough, they were suspended. Well, fortunately, the Google Ad Grant program now has, new for 2020, is a compliance dashboard. They don't want you to be suspended, but they realize that their policies change over time, and a lot of people don't stay up on it. And so we were able to go in and get them reactivated and get their program back in action thanks to the new compliance dashboard. It's a very user-friendly system. It's literally just click, 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 and make the changes you need to make. There's also something that's new that the Google Ad Grants program has created, and this is actually one of the most helpful things that they've done, and it's the Google Ad Grants account review dashboard. And basically what this does is it goes through all your ads, and it's like it grades your ads, whether it's good or bad or not applicable. And it gives you the ability to quickly make the refinements you need to make that will make Google happy. And their job, what they're really doing, is to try to make your ads work as good as they can possibly make them work. That is within their policy boundaries. Now, the click-through rate, I'm just going to mention this, the CTR, click-through rate, is the number of clicks that you have divided by the number of impressions that your ad gets. So the impression is nothing more than just when somebody sees your ad. A click is when they click on your ad. That's the click-through rate. So if you have 5 clicks and 100 impressions, then your click-through rate is 5%. That's the way they calculate that. And that's the floor. If all your ads together are less than 5%, then you could become suspended. That's one of the things that can cause that. Google's attitude about this is basically that the number of impressions is not very meaningful. They're not impressed with the number of impressions. Another thing that's really handy when you set up your Google Ad Grant program is to look at your quality score for your ads. And it's out of a score of 0 to 10. And they expect that your quality score for your ads is a 3 or better. But again, this is information that's very easy to see. You can see how you're scoring, and you can disable the ad, fix it, make whatever changes you need to make, and then reactivate the ad and see how it does. The basic campaigns are set up in the Google Ad Grant program such that you'll have a campaign, then you'll have a minimum of 2 ad groups. That's what they require. The keywords are associated with each ad group, and then under each ad group, you'll have at least 2 ads. The reason I point this out is because what most people will do is they'll build their campaign based on their website. So let's say your website is abccharity.com, and you've got 4 different major components to your website. You'll have a donation button, you'll have a volunteer button, you'll have an events button, and you'll have an About Us button, or a click or a link, or however that works. So what you would do in that case is you would create a campaign for your website, and in your case, 4 ad groups, 1 for each category. And then under each category, then you would have your ads, and your keywords then get defined based on the different ad group or that category, if you will. It's kind of an easy way to set it up. You don't have to set it up that way. There's other ways to do it. And I like, I've got what's called an ad grid that I use that targets a little bit more specifically on the behaviors and the desires of your audience, whereas setting it up based on the way your website is created is handy for dynamic advertising. It makes it nice and easy. So let's talk, and I'm kind of getting to the end here, and I'll be open for some Q&A in just a few minutes, but let's talk about the keyword planner. Keyword planners, or the keyword planner in the Google Ad Grant program, is so valuable. It's a free tool, and I highly recommend you're using it. It really exposes a lot of great information. But let's look at the Susan G. Komen, for example. Susan G. Komen has paid keywords. They're using the Google Ad Grant program as well as the paid keywords, but their paid keywords have a keyword that is DCIS. It's kind of an unusual word, DCIS. If you're not familiar with breast cancer, you wouldn't really know what DCIS is. I happen to be familiar with breast cancer, as my wife had breast cancer. So what Susan G. Komen is saying is, for people that type in DCIS, we want to come up high in the search rank. And so sure enough, if you type in DCIS into the Google search bar, ductal carcinoma in situ will come up at the very top. In fact, it also is the definition. You're given a definition of ductal carcinoma in situ. So Google has done a really good job as far as, or I'm sorry, Susan G. Komen has done a really good job to make sure that they are answering the needs of their audience. And this is an example of what it means to own the page, as they call it in this Google Ad Grant program, in the Google Ads. And so what that means with the Google, let's say American Cancer Society, what they've been able to do, and this is really important for all of us to do, is for your charity, put in the name of your charity in the search bar and see what comes up. And what American Cancer Society is doing here is they own the page. And how that shapes up is like this. And SERP in the top left-hand corner is the search engine results page. That's what that means, SERP. You may hear that. So at the very top is a paid ad. So they're actually paying for that ad. And paid ads get higher positioning than the ad grant ad. But they're using both in this case. Below that is their organic ad. So all of a sudden, you know, they own almost all of the top left-hand side of the results page. And below that is the local search ads with using the Google Map program. So on the left side of this page, the American Cancer Society with their paid ad, their ad grant, their organic search result, and their map are showing complete dominance. On the right here is the information part of the Google My Business. So although this is not really part of the topic today, it's very, very highly recommended that when you put in the name of your organization to make sure that what shows up as the Google My Business information is exactly what you want to show up. And a little interesting thing that I highly recommend you doing, a little sidebar, is that if you've got testimonials, people that are advocates of your organization, have them go to the Google, on the right side, the Google My Business information, and write a review. And the reason that's so important is Google loves to see independent reviews posted in the Google My Business. So make sure that you're the folks that are your advocates do that, and that will give you some added organic lift. Also in here, which you'll see are what are called site link extensions, and these are things that you can set up as part of your Google Ad Grant program. Always important to have lots of extensions, and that's a topic for another day that's a little bit more involved. But you can see how the extensions actually create a little mini web page where you've got the headline, you've got the extensions, which are nothing more than links to your website, but are more specific and give the user much more actionable opportunity to go where they want to go on your website. And then a couple more things, but as I wrap it up here, I want to just point out something that's really cool. If you have somebody, a professional that is managing your Google Ad Grant program or any of your Google ads, make sure, because you're not the expert, let's say, that you tap into the datastudio.google.com, put in your ad grant information, and you will receive access to this very beautiful dashboard. And it's a fun, easy way to view all of your Google ad analytics in a nice, and you can customize this. It's easy to read. It may be just something you look at once a week or once a month, but at least you know it's there, and you don't have to go deep into the analytics of the Google Ad Grant program to pull all this information out. One of the things that I believe very, very strongly in is to look at your ads, evaluate which ones are working, which ones are not working, take the recommendations that Google gives you to do a better job with your ads, and do what they say, what they call optimize, 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 and just constantly refine your ads. And remember, it's just a small amount of your invested time, and it results in a great result as far as the traffic that you can generate to your site. So where you would go to learn more is at google.com/grants. You would also be able to find some great information, support tutorials, videos at the support.google.com/grants page. And then you'll get the Data Studio at the g.co/ad-grants-review dashboard. All that's very easy to find just by going to the grants page, google.com/grants, and you can find all of that there. So hopefully that gave you some insight into the Google Ad Grant program. And I am going to open it up to any Q&A, any questions that you might have. I see one question from Sarah. Let me see, I'll read it here. Sarah, likeyourcancer.org. We also been approved by Google Ad Grant, but our ads are doing nothing. Oh, I know that. You mentioned you hired someone to help you improve your conversions. Would you suggest hiring? And if so, can you recommend your person? And I can definitely recommend my person. I can also suggest that I am fast becoming an expert at this. I'd be happy to look at how your ads are doing. So we can elevate it if necessary, but I'm here to help you as well. So yes, there are people that can definitely take it to the next level and give you that kind of support, including myself. And Douglas, sorry to see you depart. Oh, Ergie. I know Ergie. She and I are both on the same board of the North County Cancer Fitness. Isn't that funny? And she is doing a great job putting all of her classes online, and they're being viewed from all over the country, which is very exciting. And again, I'll put in my, my email address. Just reach out to me and I'll be happy to connect with you and offer you some free consultation. I'd love to be able to support you in any way possible. So at this point, I'm going to stop the share, which I think I have to do to give the reins back to our fearless leader. Brett, are you there?
I am. Thank you, Reese. That was an excellent presentation. Lots of great information and very practical as well, especially because you've lived it and implemented it at the organization there that you work with at the North County Cancer. And I see a few of you are making comments. Reese's email address is in the chat. He also had it on the screen there at the end. And a couple of people are saying they're going to connect with you and follow up, which is wonderful.
Awesome.
If anybody else has a question, though, don't want to leave anybody hanging.
I had a question.
Okay, Gita.
Yes, Reese, this was very helpful. Thank you so much. The foundation doesn't have the Google Ads grant, and I'm going to make sure we look into that. And I'm pretty sure we qualify based on what you said. Regarding other nonprofits, did you say educational 501c3s would qualify, or I think? And what about religious organizations, nonprofits?
So as I understand, religious organizations would not necessarily be a 501c3, so they would not qualify typically. However, and schools in general don't qualify, but 501c3 educational organizations can. And from my experience, I would not be stopped by that at all. If you have an educational organization, and it is a 501c3, that is a critical one, I would still apply and go through the hoops. And if they turn you down, fight it a little bit. Just say, hey, look, this is what we're doing for our communities. And this is, you may be misunderstanding exactly what we're doing. So that's what we were able to do. It took a little doing, but it was worth it in a big way.
How long does it take to set up? Is it pretty user-friendly?
Well, so it took a while. It took me about 3 months to get signed up. I'll be honest with you, it took a while. Partly because Google, once you submit your application, it took, a couple, 3 weeks to get back, or a couple weeks to get back. We were turned down 2 or 3 times. So I had to do that repetitive, refining and arguing and talking to people.
Thank you.
It did take a little while. I think it took about 3 months. But boy, it was worth it to go through that. When we got our approval letter, we celebrated.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I wish I was on the walk with you.
And I turned around. Your talk was so interesting. I kind of got disconnected, so I walked back instead of doing my usual walk. Yeah.
Oh,
this was very helpful. Thank you.
Sorry to rob you of your walk.
No, this was very helpful and informative. I appreciate your sharing this information with us.
My pleasure. It's my pleasure. Happy to help.
Anybody else have a question for Reese that we could ask? You could put it in the chat, or feel free to unmute yourself at this point and share it directly. All right. Well, Reese, that was excellent. Really appreciate your time and your expertise and knowledge and your experience, especially. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and I did record today's presentation, just so you know. So if you know somebody who might like to get this content, we will be posting this on the Chamber's webpage under the, we have a brand new spot under our webpage called Recent Webinars. And when you go there, then you can see a whole variety of presentations that we've done recently, and this will be posted there probably within a day or so. So again, thank you everybody for joining us, and I'm gonna go ahead and close out our session today. You know, our next one, well, David, why don't I put you back on the line, and if you happen to remember or know off the top of your head when our next one might be, if we're able to meet in person or if we have to go virtual again.
Well, it's the 5th Wednesday. I know that. And so that should be, I believe, let me check my calendar, July. Let's see. April, May, June, July 29th.
Perfect. And so our goal will be, you know, maybe we're able to be back in person, but if not, we'll go virtual and we'll have a great topic, and hopefully a speaker is equally as dynamic and as useful as Reese has been. So thank you, everybody, and I'll go ahead and close this for today.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Brett.
Thank you, guys.